Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lindie and I make videos about language learning, mindset, productivity, design, everything in between. Today I'm going to talk about the 5 things I've noticed, 5 mistakes that language learners make. This is relevant to my personal experience and what I've seen in the language community around me, and it could be very different for you, but stay tuned if you want to see what I think people could be doing differently when learning languages. I'm not really one for long video intros, so I'm actually going to dive straight into it. The first thing is giving up too soon. One thing I notice when people talk to me when they learn that I speak a few languages is, oh my goodness, you must have such a talent. That is really a gift that you have. And while I appreciate the sentiment, I do want to remind people that it's not just a talent or a gift. It's really a lot of time, effort, and motivation that people have to put into learning languages. It's not just something that talented people can do overnight. I've been learning Korean for about 11 years, and I still feel that I could be getting better. And it's a continuous effort over a number of years that allows me to be able to speak Korean comfortably. But I think when people have this impression that language learning is just a talent, or when they look at people on YouTube and see how well they can speak, they think, oh, it shouldn't be that hard, right? And then when it does get hard, they give up. Now, this is not necessarily a mistake, but I think it's something that people could go into with a different mindset. The point of my channel is to encourage you and inspire you to learn languages. But I want you to do that in a realistic way. Understand that it does take time and effort, but it is not impossible. I'm mentioning this as the first thing because this is related to your mindset when going into a language as a beginner. If you think it's going to be a breeze, you might be giving up easier than you thought. So try and be realistic about it. Number 2 is too many resources, analysis paralysis. Everybody online is trying to sell you their courses or their resources. You'll go to a bookstore and you'll see so many books. You'll browse the app store and you won't know where to start. Again, not really a mistake that people make, but I think it's easy for people to fall into the trap of looking for the best resource and not actually spending that time and energy learning the language. You don't even need to have a textbook or an app if you find enough free resources online, communities of people you could talk to, content or music to watch, podcasts with transcripts. There's a lot that you can start with. Myself, I like to use textbooks because I feel that I learn better when I see something on a page, when I can highlight it, circle it, interact with it. Choose what is right for you, but try not to get bogged down by the idea that, oh, there are so many resources available, I need to find the perfect one. Something I said to someone the other day is that really a lot of these resources are teaching you the same thing, but in a different way. It'll be packaged or structured differently. It might be a textbook that looks different, but essentially is teaching you the same thing, especially if you're at a beginner level. So my recommendation to you is don't worry about the fact that there are so many resources. Use what you have, be resourceful, and try and start small, and then you can branch out from there. Don't stock up on all the books or all the apps and then feel overwhelmed, or try to create a study schedule that takes into account every single resource. You will be feeling really overwhelmed. Of course, I do have recommendations. There are resources that I think are fantastic, and I've listed them all on my website at lindiebuddhist.com/language-resources. Number 3 is being scared of making mistakes. If you're constantly scared of how people are going to perceive you when you speak, or if you're scared of making a mistake and people are going to laugh at you, this is going to hinder your progress. Again, this depends on the type of goals you have. If you feel that you're never going to want to speak to people, and you just want to learn a language for literary reasons or for watching movies or listening to music, that's fine, you don't have to worry about that. But if part of your goal is to be able to communicate in the language, you need to try and get over that fear of, are people going to laugh at me? A good safe space to start getting over this fear is by taking online lessons with a tutor. What that does is it creates a safe space for you to talk to someone who will never laugh at you. They are there to help you. The idea is to start speaking slowly and at a small scale in a safe environment. Maybe a language exchange group will be good, where you can spend more of your time listening to people who are similarly at your level. If we constantly think, oh, these people are going to laugh at me, what are they going to think, I'm such a noob, then you're going to go into speaking situations thinking that I'm not good enough, when am I going to make a mistake? If you embrace it and say, hey, that's part of the process, it's okay if I make mistakes, of course I'm still learning, I'm, at the level of a baby. That is exactly how you should be approaching it. I just want to encourage you and say, it's okay, we've all been there, we've all made a lot of blunders, and don't let that hinder you from learning a language. The fourth thing is being tied to a method that you cannot change. A lot of what we see on YouTube is creating study plans that are so strict that don't allow for flexibility. And this is quite similar to the one about resources that I was talking about. Try not to stock up on all the resources because you might not like it. There is really no shame in creating a rough study plan for yourself and not necessarily, well, I don't mean to say not sticking to it, but rather changing things as you go along. One of the things I really embrace with language learning is being able to change the way I learn very often. I work at a startup and we have an agile methodology of how we work. So we work in really short sprints, about 2 weeks, and then we go back and reflect on what we've done. What worked, what didn't work, what could be better. You can adopt a similar approach with your language learning. Try creating a plan for yourself for about 2 weeks or a month, see how it goes, and then look back and say, what about my plan did I like? What worked? Did I book in the right amount of time? Am I feeling overwhelmed? Am I getting the most out of my resources? And then iterate upon your process. So I do want to warn you against giving yourself such solid, rigid guidelines that there is no space for flexibility. If you don't have experience in learning a language or multiple languages before, allow yourself that time to explore new methods and resources, and don't be tied into something too much. Number 5 is just learning a ton of vocabulary without context and really kind of studying like you're just using a dictionary. I do see a few people do this. It's very interesting and I would not recommend it. I did say, make use of what you have. If a dictionary is the only resource you have, by all means, but try to get some example sentences. Don't just study the top 100 most common words. You're not going to know how to use them. And if you're studying translated directly from one language to another, like cat is gato or whatever, right? You're never going to see the nuances. Maybe one word is used slightly differently than it is in the native language you're studying from. Once you learn things in context, it's going to be a lot easier. So I don't recommend that you just learn lists of words without context or just studying the most common verbs. What I say is rather start small and engage with material at your level. Read a lot, write a lot, listen a lot, and then the more you expose yourself to the language, the more these words are going to pop up in different contexts. And then you'll be able to say, oh, I remember learning that word. It actually meant that. I see it's being used in this way too. And you start making all of these connections between words. That's a lot more engaging and interactive than just looking at a solid list of words and their translations. And the bonus tip I have for you, the bonus mistake that people might be making, is not being consistent. This ties into what I said right at the start, where people say, oh, language learning, you must be so talented, what a great gift you have. Well, the languages that I succeed in are the ones that I am consistent in. When I was learning Korean, I remember I was in my last year of high school, and it was actually school exams, but every single night I did one chapter from a Korean textbook. I would talk to my Korean friends every day. Every single day of my life that year was spent learning Korean. And those small, consistent steps really built a good foundation for my Korean. Sorry, I kicked the tripod. Built a good foundation for my Korean going forward. If you learn a lot, you take a long pause, you're gonna forget what you learned. So rather do small steps than being inconsistent. Again, like I said, everybody has a different experience. These are just the things I've noticed, and I'd be really curious to see what things do you think people could be improving in the way they learn languages. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye!